Hi, my name is Adrian Lee, and I'm going to share my story because it may help or give hope to at least one person. So, this is a very short part of my story, and as I go forward, I'll be sharing a lot more. It does contain some sensitive subjects like clinical depression and potential suicide, but also it contains about real hope, about surrender to any fear, and the magic that can happen after you surrender. So if you know anyone after listening to this that needs to hear it, please do share it with them, particularly males. Um, we're going into, I'm recording this in mid-December 23. We're going into some dark times, and suicide is at its highest at this time of year. So like many people in my generation, I grew up in a lot of negative programming from people and society, as in, you'll never make anything of yourself, you're not good enough. Um, and I never felt the love that I needed to learn. So in my early 20s, I didn't feel loved, I didn't feel good enough. And I wonder actually where I really fitted in. So in my late 20s, there were some circumstances that sent me into depression. And then on and off for over 20 years, I suffered with clinical depression. Now, the only people that really understand clinical depression are the people that go through it, have experienced it. But basically, the biggest thing when you're in clinical depression is actually getting your 2 feet out of the bed in the morning. The second biggest thing is cleaning your teeth. And if you've cleaned your teeth, you've had a good day. So within this time, but I actually contemplated suicide on a number of occasions, but most of the time I was so low, you have absolutely no energy and you're on the floor. Now, I had a fairly okay career. When I was actually working, I did reasonably well. I had a house, I had lots of money, and I did many things. So it wasn't all bad, but I had lots and lots of time off. And in this depressive time, fueled by drinking at the weekends to keep myself happy. In 2011, I left the banking industry, went into business, and by the beginning of 2017, I had managed to lose everything. I lost my house, I lost my pension fund, I lost any kind of hope. And I thought, how on earth have I got into this situation? And approaching 50, that wasn't a great place to be. How did that happen? There was a couple of things that happened. I was offered some free accommodation for a certain period of time in 2018. At the end of 2017, I found meditation and some energy work. And I was told that there was a compensation fund coming my way from my pension that was actually going to give me some real hope. I could pay off my debts and I could actually rent a house for a year. Now, with the meditation and the energy work, I managed to get myself off of antidepressants, which I was on and off for over 20 years. And I was in I was actually in a stable way emotionally. It set me in a really good stead. But by the end of 2021, I was then told I wasn't getting my compensation, which sent me into a spiral. I was living in a place where it really wasn't aligned to my energy, in a place that it was quite difficult. The time was coming up when I needed to leave. And I was told that this money was not coming, that I was going to pay off my debts and be able to get my own place. I was finding it difficult to hold down a conventional job of any kind, and I was in desperate measures. So around about that time, even though I was in a kind of a therapist mode, I knew what to do, I knew what I should be doing, but the energy is so heavy when you're in clinical depression. All I wanted to do is to leave my body, is to get out of this world. So I planned my exit. I had a few days where I knew I was going to be on my own, and I'd been planning for a number of weeks. I went to a DIY store, and it was kind of like, they know what I'm thinking. They know what I'm thinking about doing. And I bought 2 ropes. Why on earth did I buy 2 ropes? And on that Sunday, when I was planning to exit my body, I put the rope around my neck. I pulled it tight. And I mean, I actually find it a bit funny now. Maybe it's not so funny, but I went, oh, that hurts. Well, of course it was going to hurt. What else was it going to do? And I took it off. I sat down on a chair, and I just said to the universe, the divine God, whatever you want to call it, I said, over to you. Because up until that point, I was in fear of being a failure. I was in fear of not having any money, not a fear of not being able to earn any money, in fear of being homeless up until that point. But at that very moment, I literally surrendered to any fear. And I said, okay, if you want me to go and live on the streets, I'll go and do it. Because literally I had lost that fear at that very moment. And that's when the magic started to happen. Now, obviously, this is a much bigger story, and I will be telling my story in a much bigger way. But for now, I just really wanted to get the message across at this time of year, in the dark nights in the Northern Hemisphere, when things can be pretty depressing for a lot of people, that there is another choice. I took that other choice, and I also managed to surrender to all of the fears, because we are programmed and we grew up in a society of complete fear about almost everything. Now, when I let go of that, I didn't go and live on the streets. I left the accommodation where I was, and with having a few house sitting jobs, and the house sitting just rolled and rolled. And within a few months, I can't remember exactly the way it happened, but I was offered a free holiday to Portugal with a friend of mine, all expenses paid. I was given $5,000 worth of cryptocurrency. Half of my bank debt was paid off by the bank. And then within an hour of actually knowing somebody, because my car was falling apart, couldn't afford the fuel to put in it, but they said, if I buy a new car this week, do you want my old one? And I started to accept, and the more I accepted, the more I was given. The universe just started sending me good things because I'd surrendered to the fear. So, and being a male, we are definitely programmed to be this certain type of strong sort of archetype person that don't show their feelings. So it takes courage, because all of this in society is shown as weakness. Well, I actually think it takes huge courage and huge strength to show this apparent weakness. And it takes huge courage to surrender. So if you know anybody that needs to hear this, there are methods that help me, and I will be sharing that at a later date. But right now, there are certainly government suicide lines or helplines, and certainly in the UK we have Andy's Man Club, and many more institutions or organisations that can help people. So at this very moment, all I want to do is just to say, there is another choice. If you make that other choice, it can be magical, because I can tell you, in a few years, my life has completely turned around. There is some real magic happened. It started to happen immediately after I surrendered any fear, and it's just got better and better. And I believe now is the time to share that information. Thank you for listening. Sending much love to you all out there at this time. And remember, there is another choice. Pick up the phone to someone, to an organisation, or whoever your choice, but pick up that phone. Much love.